Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to episode number 65 of the Primetime Rundown right here on the Eastern Observer. Alongside my guys Ian Schraier and Rob DeLuca, I'm Joey Jarzynka. Welcome back, Ian Schraier, from a 2-week hiatus, but we cannot thank everyone enough for joining us here on the Eastern Observer. Episode number 65 is presented to you by Black Cats NYC. Be sure to visit them on the following platforms by checking out their newest hit single, Dirty Little Hipster, which you just heard in our open. Listen on Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, Google Play, Pandora, and Spotify. All good things, as well as their newest album, Free Cake, which is out now. Play loud. Listen on Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, and Spotify. Ian Schraier, you were out on vacation last week. Your daughter, your 2-year-old daughter, beat you in mini golf. How sad was that little Emma beat you at mini golf?
You're looking at the reigning mini golf champion of the family right here after our trip to Ocean City, Maryland, and I wear that title proudly, beating my wife by 5 strokes. But just very happy to be back. Can't thank Mike Zabo enough for filling in, and also I'm so sad I wasn't able to be on last week, even though I was on vacation, to hang out with our good friend Evan Winter, who was here to preview the Bucks in the NFC South. But very excited to be back with everybody as we preview the AFC East tonight, and we've just got a great show on tap.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But Rob DeLuca, you are here with a brand new router. We got that all tested and ready to go. So fingers crossed. How are you doing down in Seaside?
Oh, fantastic. Hopefully it comes through with the door closed. I mean, this time I completely closed it, hoping that these walls aren't load bearing, so maybe it won't get blocked on the way through. But nonetheless, what we'll get through to our viewers' screens is a great show, like Ian said. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about tonight, but mainly the AFC East, and it's gonna be an interesting race in that division.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But ladies and gentlemen, for all of those that are listening to us on the following platforms, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we cannot thank you all enough for doing so. But for those who are watching us on the I-95 Sports Network and Blackjack TV, please be sure to never miss an episode. If you are in the car, or if you're traveling, or you don't want to see any of our faces and you like our voices, you can take a peek at the Google Play Store, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio app as well by searching the Primetime Rundown. Guys, we got a good and as you can see also, Ian's wife Christine has chimed in here. He's so good at mini golf, it's annoying, with one of the emojis, one of the faces over there. So, well, I mean, I think what we're going to have to do now is that we might have to have a Primetime Rundown competition of who's better at mini golf here, and then we will determine if Ian Schraier is really that good or not.
Well, our competition in Atlantic City, New Jersey, gentlemen, never came to fruition.
That's because it was 300 degrees.
That's true. Yeah. That is very true. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a good show on tap. We got Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, and of course the AFC East preview show as always. And also we get to take a peek at the not the greatest players, but the top 100 players in the NFL this season that was released earlier, I believe yesterday, by the NFL. So we'll have a little bit of nice debate and see if we agree or not. And let's get things started, guys. Field of Dreams, the recap against the Yankees and the White Sox, that came about on Thursday. I thought that was a very, very cool entrance, number one. We got to see, obviously, Kevin Costner make his way out to start the whole program. And for those that do not know, all the way in deep left field of the original Field of Dreams, which is where the movie was based out of, is where Major League Baseball and the site in Dyersville, Iowa, came to an agreement on building a brand new stadium. Obviously, it's, one of those makeshift stadiums that could easily be taken down, but it's all the way in left field, in the cornfields, literally in the cornfields. And that's where the Yankees and the White Sox played one game. Also, let's not forget David Ross, the Chicago Cubs manager, kind of let one slip and say that the Cubs will be playing at the Field of Dreams next year. Their opponent is to be determined. But for all of those fans that are out there that know about the Field of Dreams, please give us some comments. Tell us what you thought about it. Because for me, I kind of got the chills going back to my childhood, watching watching Kevin Costner come out of the cornfields, as well as the entire Yankees and White Sox, the whole roster, really. And you got to see also, obviously, where the New York logo is in the movie. It says Portland on it. And it was just it was really cool to see. Something that we brought up last week, DeLuca, was what was once old is now new again, and we're beginning to see that here come to fruition. But Ian, did you get to see the game? And did Christina allow you to watch the game? Were you and Emma watching the game?
I hope she throws some comments out for that one.
Love you too, Christine.
My daughter was sleeping in the bed next to us, so I really couldn't turn the game on to watch it. But I was following along and I was catching the highlights. But when we came home, I got to really scroll through and watch some of the videos and just really get a glimpse of the idea of what that game was like for the fans that were there. I rewatched the opening on Fox. I rewatched Kevin Costner's walk, to the Field of Dreams music, which was great. The whole thing, it made so much sense. And I know MLB has been going above and beyond to try to attract a younger fan base and to attract more fans because, baseball doesn't have, play to the same speed that we see now with the popularity with football and the NBA. Which is such a shame because me as a lifelong baseball fan. But I just thought overall the experience was fantastic. I thought it was great. That the first pitch was between Kevin Costner and the actor who played his father at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Saying, do you want to have a cat? Hey, Dad, want to have a catch? I thought that was great. The only part about it that I thought was a little corny was the fact that Kevin Costner kept referencing the word perfect.
Yes.
Like the entire podcast, because it's obviously for those people that are fans of the movie Field of Dreams, myself included, it's my favorite sports movie. And obviously as a result, my favorite baseball movie. Everybody remembers the line, when James Earl Jones, who plays Terrence Mann, says unbelievable. And when they have all the players on the field, Kevin Costner's character, Ray Kinsella, goes, it's more than that. It's perfect.
Yes.
And all you hear throughout the entire broadcast basically is, oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. He's talking with Joe Buck. It's perfect. He's talking with David Ortiz and Kevin Burkhardt. It's perfect. Yes, we get where you're going with that.
Right.
But I think this is fantastic for baseball. I'm so excited that they're going to be doing it again next year. Joey, I did not hear that news, so I'm happy you got to break it to me about David Ross breaking the news potentially about the Cubs playing there next year. But I hope that becomes kind of like the Winter Classic of baseball. They had mentioned, I read an article that said that MLB on Fox really needed a second game to throw up there in addition to the Midsummer Classic being the All-Star game. And I think this is perfect. It's a nice way to send out the summer before the playoffs, before the pennant races get started. I'm really excited to see where this goes because I don't think we're going to see the London series come back now for a couple of years because of everything with COVID. But I think this was a heck of an idea, and I hope they keep it going. It looks like they will.
I would say so, guys. I mean, just by seeing this and really seeing how much money they put in, and you also got to see the cool part was that they opened up the house. They opened up the original Field of Dreams, of course, about 100 yards just beyond right field. It was really a cool sight. There's no reason why these events shouldn't be happening. But then there was also obviously certain people saying about maybe they could have different sites similar to the National Hockey League playing in Lake Placid, or where they played in Pennsylvania for the Charleston Chiefs. You get to see these certain buildings.
Lake Tahoe, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then possibly they could be doing it in football as well. So I think that it's good, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that it doesn't get dull. Where we start to see certain teams go back and not only that too, we remember, and I know all three of us, because we all love Islanders, Rangers, Devils, and I hate to bring up hockey during August, but if we remember when the Islanders and the Rangers and the Devils and the Rangers played at Yankee Stadium, that was I believe the first year of the Stadium Series. That was one of the coolest things. And now we get to see, every year it's starting to happen, but the popularity has increasingly decreased or has increasingly gone down in popularity, if you will.
I would say the Stadium Series has definitely dipped, but I would say
Yeah.
the Winter Classic is still not lost.
For sure,
I
yes.
think everyone
Stadium Series,
looks forward to New Year's Day for the Winter Classic, and I think that the Field of Dreams game can really provide. I think a series like the London series. I think even though, like for example, with respect to football, let's change the topic again. I think playing the 3 or 4 games they do in London every year is going to get saturated eventually. Correct. I think the London series for Major League Baseball will eventually get saturated. I even think to a certain extent the game that they started hosting that precedes the Little League World Series in Williamsport, I think that is going to lose a little bit of its, lose a little bit of it, because I think people like the jerseys where the players have their nicknames on the back. I think a Field of Dreams game, because of how iconic that movie is. I don't want to put it up there with the Winter Classic yet, because think of how the reputation that the Winter Classic has built over the last 10 plus years. But I think this could rival it. Maybe, I don't want to say definitely, but I think it could rival it just because of how iconic that movie is, how iconic everything to any baseball fan Field of Dreams is.
DeLuca, what were your thoughts? I know you and I were talking about it, and our guy Andrew Heaney, he was pitching there, and hey, we're gonna see him on Wednesday. We're gonna see him live on Wednesday. How great is that?
Hey, it's about if Mother Nature allows it, it'll be great. But, that Mother Nature be very tricky. The weather isn't promising right now, so we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of the Field of Dreams, that was just a phenomenal ceremony to open it up. Everything was perfect from start to finish with the ceremony. I mean, just the way everything was done. They really worked on this, and using Kevin Costner, having the intro narrated by James Earl Jones. I mean, just everything done correctly. And then then you get to the baseball game itself. And that was a phenomenal game from start to finish. You
can't have it better.
Yeah, you arguably had one of the best baseball games the whole sport has seen in years, because of how dramatic it got. Yankees are down by 3 in the top of the 9th. They get 4 runs. They take an 8-7 lead with home runs from Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Who better than those two guys to do such a thing? And then in the bottom of the 9th inning, you come in, the Yankees struggling with save situations, and the struggles continue. Tim Anderson becomes the big hero, putting a 2-run walk-off home run into the corn to win it 9-8 for the White Sox. I mean,
you can't tell me though, Rob, that every Yankee fan for about a glimpse of a second was ready to put Giancarlo Stanton right back on that pedestal, right?
Hey, he's one of the still great.
I was in there. I was in that conversation.
Keep hating him. That's what I say. Keep hating him. Let him keep hating him, please. Just do it. Just do it. As a Yankees fan, I beg you, just do it.
Well, let's go to some of the comments here. So, so the first one here, Brian Morales, is our good friend. He was supposed to be with us tonight, but listen, the people that work in college sports, they know all about August 16th, because right around this time is the time where things get
preseason, baby.
That's right, things get started. So Brian Morales says, shots fired early. Ian's back. AFC East preview, Field of Dreams recap. It's Monday, so you know what that means. It is perfect. Our good friend, Director of Media Relations, Brian Morales from Wagner College. Thank you, as always, B, for always being here with us, whether it be virtual or on, or with us. At some point, you'll be with us for sure. And, of course, our good friend, Mike Szabo from WSJU, St. John's University Radio Network, of course, always chimes in. Can't thank him enough as well. He says, Field of Dreams game was great, but you can't convince me the balls weren't juiced to create more entertainment.
I think I think he's right. I think he's right. I mean, let's think about it. These things, the walls were fairly placed. They were about 3, left field and right field were about 335, 340. Wasn't that far. Center field was a dead even 400. But with some of those home runs, you could hear it off the sound of the bat, that these things were getting crushed. I mean, there was like an explosion off the bat. It was a beautiful noise, don't get me wrong, but you kind of knew when they left the bat what was going to be a home run and what wasn't. And Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton's home runs and Tim Anderson's in the 9th inning, all no doubters. You could just hear it, and you're there like, you're either like, oh heck yes, or it's like, oh no, or if depending on who you're rooting for, it's like, oh no, because you could just hear it. You knew it was leaving the park.
Joey, I gotta grind Rob's gears here for 1 second, just because I know he was celebrating. This is a question directed to Mike Zavo, and I know he's watching because I can't wait to see his comments.
All right, and before Ian gets started, let us just pull up.
I was gonna wait for Ian to speak.
I'm really grinding Rob's gears on purpose, and here's why: because I want to ask Mike Zavo if the result yesterday between Tottenham and Man City was rigged or not.
I guess we can put it up. What really grinds Rob DeLuca's gears? Here we go.
No, that's just confusing. What is Ian even trying to say here? The champs.
I don't know. Did Tottenham deserve to win 1-0 yesterday?
The champs came out dry. What do you want from me? The champs came out dry. They were doing nothing all game. Tottenham deserved that win from start to finish. They were the better team. Harry Kane, open your eyes. This is where you want to be. You want to be right here in Tottenham. You don't want to go to no Manchester City. Look how they played. No good. Stay here. We love you here. You won't be loved in Man City.
Guys, let's stay on topic, though. We were discussing just a few moments ago about what DeLuca was saying about the dimensions. So this is something that I want to let all of our viewers know. The Dyersville ballpark, according to the Des Moines Register, by the way, 335 down the lines, both down left field and right field, 400 to center, and left and right field gap are 380 feet. How does that stack up to most ballparks? And very, very coincidentally, so we think, let's take a peek at guaranteed rate fields.
I was just going to say
dimensions. Yeah. Here we are, folks. And I want to get back to Mike Zabo's point here. Let's take a look at guaranteed let's take a look at guaranteed rate field, the usual home for the White Sox. The left field line at Chicago Stadium is at the Chicago Stadium is 330 feet, just 5 feet shorter down the left field line. Right field is 335, the exact same as the Dyersville Field of Dreams Park. And dead center field is also 400 feet. Guys, does this sound like a little coincidence here? And similar to what Mike Zabo said too about possibly the balls were juiced to create more entertainment. Could this have been, I don't want to call it rigged, but could this have been more of a even playing field where we know the Yankees are the Bronx Bombers, but to really get the White Sox to keep them in the game?
I think a lot of that's going to depend on what we see from the field next year. Because in theory, the Field of Dreams game was a home game for the White Sox.
Yeah.
Because the Yankees were traveling to Chicago for a 3-game series, and instead they took the first game of that series and turned it into the Field of Dreams game. So I'll be very interested next year to say if the Cubs are hosting, are they going to move because it's a makeshift stadium, so in theory you could really adjust things the way you want. Do they turn it in such a way where it resembles the same dimensions of Wrigley? I don't know. That's a question. I think we come back to this 365 days from now and we say to ourselves, okay, let's look back on the conversation we had, and they didn't change the dimensions. Okay, then you want to sit there and start, playing with the little petty details of the ballpark, sure, because they weren't tailored to the short right field porch of Yankee Stadium. I mean, both Guaranteed Rate and Yankee Stadium are launching pads on any day in baseball, but I think that's a conversation, Joey. I don't want to sit here and say there was any bias to it. I think that's going to be a conversation for a year from now than even talking about it. Because technically it was the White Sox home game, and maybe they tailored the dimensions that way for a reason.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now we've got Brian Morales saying 16 minutes in and already possibly the quickest grind to Lucas gears.
It wasn't even a grind to Lucas gears.
No, it was we blame Ian for that.
Find a way to blame Tottenham for Man City's loss.
Well, now let's pull up Mike Zabo's let's pull up his comment that says, hold on one second, guys. Let's do this here. Wow, that's a big jump for me, but hey, one can connect the dots. I'm sure the FA would rather Kane stay at Spurs than join City and practically make them a super team. Well,
hey, look, Messi joined PSG, right? Messi joined PSG, right?
I mean, he did, but I don't know what you want him to do about what was he supposed to do? Go to the MLS?
I mean, there was talk. Well, I think the contract was if he was going to go to Man City, it was going to be 3 years with Man City and 1 year in New York with NYCFC.
Oh, I would have hated that.
Yeah,
as a Red Bulls fan, I'd hated that.
Yeah, but could you? Well, the only reason I think he chose PSG was because it was more money. But
possibly,
and then for another time. But
and you know, way more likely chance of a trophy.
Yeah, well, that too.
Also, Mike Zabo says, going back to the Field of Dreams game, they just wanted a great game either way. MLB had to hit one this game. Most watched regular season game in 16 years. That is very, very true. Yeah, there was no doubt about it. And listen, for all the Major League Baseball fans out there, in my opinion, I think that this one was something that Rob Manfred and his entire crew have gotten right. He never gets anything right. He and his entire staff. Right, exactly. They never get anything right. They are legitimate disgrace. And really, though, they really hit this one out of the ballpark, no pun intended here, with this ball game. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do something a little bit differently. It's very evident that they've got the creative skills, but they do not have the common sense skills. So good stuff there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep on moving here. And let's take a peek now at what we have seen with the San Diego Padres. Why do we bring up the Padres? Because right now we look at the wild card standings, okay? And what we are seeing here is that the San Diego Padres are hanging on. And why we say hanging on, which they're not, they're in the second wild card spot. They've gone 5-5 in their last 10. They're 14 games over 500. That's not the issue. The issue here is that you've got the St. Louis Cardinals that are roaring ahead on a 6-game winning streak right now, and they are 8-2 in their last 10. Ian Schraier, I want to start with you because your Mets are in a legitimate free fall at 3-7, and right now there are some chatters here that, well, you know what, maybe, and this is what I texted DeLuca this earlier, and I think you were in the group as well. David Robertson was out there and the Tampa Bay Rays snapped him up. Maybe, just maybe, the New York Mets could have signed him to be in their bullpen, especially because they need pieces everywhere and they don't have it.
Well, are we talking Padres first? Or are we talking Mets? I kind of lost.
Well, I want to talk about the Padres here. I want to talk about, well, yeah, that too. But I want to talk about the Padres, and the reason why here is because, of course, we said the St. Louis Cardinals are roaring up. Are the Padres in trouble?
My concern with the San Diego Padres really started with their start. This was a team. I mean, look, and it was no one had the San Francisco Giants pegged where they are. That's first and foremost. We all thought it was a 2-team race coming into the year between the Dodgers and the Padres. And remember, the Dodgers got out to a pretty slow start this season, and the Padres had every opportunity to capitalize. Now, granted, the Giants came out of nowhere, but the Padres are a team that is completely built on home runs and doubles and just slugging past opponents. I mean, look, they went out and it really shouldn't be that because they went out and they traded for pitchers and they traded for top of the line starting and rotation pitchers. They went out, they traded for Blake Snell. They went out, they traded for Yu Darvish. They went out, they traded for Joe Musgrove. I mean, they're waiting for Mike Clevenger to come back. There was all that talk that Max Scherzer was coming to San Diego at the trade deadline. So, I mean, but my concern with the Padres has always been hitting. I know you're like, Ian, what are you saying? Like, how in the world are you concerned with the way they hit? They're an all or nothing team. Like look at their lineup up and down. Like I remember going to the Mets Padres game that DeGrom started back at Citi Field back in June and looking at the splits between Fernando Tatis Jr.'s slugging percentage and on base percentage. And his slugging percentage was like something absurd, like something like 690, maybe even over 700, and his on-base percentage was like 347. So I mean that's the biggest concern for San Diego is if they're not hitting home runs, and if the fact that they lost Tatis, and of course his first game back he homers, what else is new? But I think you're asking for other guys besides Manny Machado to step up and fill those gaps. And look, Jake Cronenworth, nice player. Is he Fernando Tatis? No. I mean, you look at, Will Myers got out to a real nice start. He's cooled off. You go up and down the list here of players that consume that lineup. They went out and they got Adam Frazier. who finally was a guy who's more of a doubles guy and a guy who can hit for contact. But this is a team that is completely built on power, on scoring as many runs as they possibly can. And when they run up against good pitching, if they make the playoffs, I mean, if you're giving me Dodgers, Padres in the NL wildcard game, I mean, I think they'll hold on, especially now the fact that they've got Tatis back. It's good for the Cardinals, at least, that Arenado started hitting and this team is finally finding their stroke. I mean, took 5 months. But no one's been running away. No one's been running away with it. But with respect to San Diego, I mean, if you're giving me Padres Dodgers in the wild card game at Dodger Stadium, or even in San Diego, give me LA all the way. I just don't think the Padres are there yet, which is crazy to say considering the makeup of their roster. But I think they're a year away. Their approach at the plate has to change a little bit. You can't be a team that live and dies by the home run. I think we see a team in the Bronx that knows that the exact same way. And Petco Park is not made the way Yankee Stadium is. Petco Park is a pitcher's park. So I think that approach for the Padres has to change a little bit at the plate in order for them to really I don't want to say for them to be a World Series contender, but I don't think they can match up with the elite of the National League or even the American League at this point.
And keep in mind also, you speak about how the Yankees are an all or nothing team. Joey Gallo, 2-run shot, 2-1 Yankees right now in the makeup game against, or in the rescheduled game against the LA Angels. DeLuca, your thoughts on what the Padres are all about, and can the Cardinals chase them and potentially take that number 2 wild card spot?
You know what? It's going to be close. I mean, I would like to say that the Padres are going to figure this out. And the thing is, they likely will, but the Cardinals are on a surge right now. And if they keep this play up, you never know. It's going to get close as the season starts to wind down, come to an end. But overall, I mean, it's tough to say. I personally believe the Padres will hang on, make the playoffs in that wild card spot. But based on everything we've seen this season, nothing's a sure thing anymore. As Ian mentioned, nobody saw the San Francisco Giants essentially locking up a playoff spot. Nobody saw the Dodgers not running away with the NL West. It's
not only, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, not only locking up a playoff spot, potentially locking up the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's just a thing nobody saw coming. So there's just so many unknowns. It's really hard to say whether or not that the Padres are capable of hanging on here. I think they are. I mean, look, let's not be hasty. This team is capable of hanging on. The question is, will they? And I don't know, because right now the Cardinals are trying to fight back here and get themselves in there. So
my concern with the St. Louis Cardinals is just going back to guys like Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. They have not been hitting the whole year. I know Jack Flaherty went down early with injury. I think the team, and again, as much shade as I throw at this team, that you really should watch out more for, are the Cincinnati Reds. Somehow they are just a scrappy bunch. Jesse Winker, an all-star year. I mean, he's really been picking up the slack for when guys like Nick Castellanos has been hurt. I mean, Luis Castillo has proven to be a top of the line pitcher. I mean, they're trying to get something out of Sonny Gray. I mean, you look at their starting rotation; it's nothing like, the numbers aren't anything special. But you thought they were going to lose Trevor Bauer and everything was going to fall apart. Meanwhile, I think they're probably better now than they were last year. Yes. They're just a real scrappy bunch. They're fun to watch. I think the Padres are going to hold on because they're just too good. Like what hurts them is that they play in terms of the division and who's ahead of them. They played 19 games apiece against the 2 other better teams in baseball. And at least in the National League, and the Dodgers and the Giants. So I think that it's an unfair advantage because right now the Giants again are playing like no one expected them to, and the Dodgers are arguably the best team in all of baseball. So I think with respect to the Padres, I think they'll hang around for over the final month and a half. It's hard to believe that they won't, just simply because of how loaded they are offensively. Whereas with the Cardinals have not. I mean, they've found their stride, but I don't know with guys that have not.
Can it last? Is the
I don't know if it can last. And the Reds, look, they make the playoffs, they'll shock me, but I still think the Padres and Dodgers and Giants, there'll be 3 playoff spots out of the NL West. I'd be shocked if there weren't.
So the biggest thing here to me, guys, is that the Padres just continue to bring in the names. Jake Arrieta was waived by the Chicago Cubs. He was claimed by the San Diego Padres. He will be making a start on Wednesday. Now, exactly what Ian had brought up about the pitching is really this team is an all-or-nothing team, and they're literally trying to piecemeal things together. Unfortunately, you've got Yu Darvish on the injured list. You've got San Diego Padres legend and future New York Mets legend Chris Paddock. He's also on the injured list as well. That's going to be Ian's favorite or next jersey, rather. So yeah. So there you go. But in all seriousness, though, the pitching is not what it's supposed to be. And as Ian brought up too, Mike Clevenger is not in this equation because of surgery that he had early on this year. He should be back the start of 2022. There's not much to really say here. Snell, Musgrove, Weathers, Reisner, Hampton's Collegiate Baseball League alum, by the way. And now you're going to add Arrieta to the mix. So, this team right now, they need reinforcements. I don't think Arrieta is going to do it. But again, you look at what St. Louis has been doing on this little stretch. They're 8-2. They're 4.5 games out. They're now 5 games over 500. But they're going up against Milwaukee, who right now they are ahead in the division by nearly 11 games. So they've got a lot of catching up to do if they want to get the Central. I don't think that's really that's obviously out of reach. Yeah. But then I want to move over to the NL East, because now this team called the New York Mets that were supposed to be leading the way in the NL East. And I want to start with DeLuca here. We'll save the best for last. In New York Mets fan Ian Schraier, of course. The Mets are in a free fall. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now. And we also got to hear some F-bombs and whatnot thrown out there by Thor, also known as Noah Syndergaard. Why can you blame him? We don't have the tweet up there. It is a little inappropriate for the casual viewer. But let's just say on Sunday night, last night, the New York Mets were hosting the LA Dodgers, and tonight they're out in San Francisco. That's a little, I don't know who really did the scheduling there, but if you are Noah Syndergaard, do you agree with him, Rob DeLuca, that Major League Baseball really dropped the ball here?
I mean, scheduling can be so random. I mean, sure, you can pick and choose where things are like, how do you schedule these teams back to back to back and all that? But I mean, again, nobody expected the Giants to be like this, so you can't really complain about a series with the Giants.
Yeah, but you're going cross country. You're going cross country, and on top of it too, I think, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I also believe that these comments by Noah Syndergaard were sparked, obviously, because his team has lost its last 3. And on top of it, too, they've hit a grueling stretch. Now they just played the Dodgers, got swept, and now they're going up against San Francisco.
Well, yeah, look, that you got to play these teams. You're in the same conference. It's just going to happen. It's all a matter of when and timing. They typically like having the same division's opponents roughly within the same time frame, just for convenience sake. But nonetheless, you're right, Joey. Noah Syndergaard probably wouldn't be saying some of this if the Mets were still winning. That's the problem. He's trying to light a spark under this team right now by yelling at. You got to yell at someone. So why not yell at the terrible Major League Baseball front offices? Because we all know they're terrible, but that's what it takes. Sometimes you just got to light that spark. You gotta go off. You're going to have to drop a few curse words here and there. That's what it takes sometimes. You got to show that you got to show your passion, show that you care. And that's what Noah Syndergaard's trying to do here. And we will see how the Mets respond to that. As we all know, it really didn't work when Steve Cohen tried to go into the locker room and talk to his team, try to light a spark under them, getting shut out that night. So nonetheless, I can't say there. I do not believe there's any targeting going on here because of how random scheduling can be. But it's as simple as if the Mets were winning this, he wouldn't have said these things, and he's just trying to light that spark. And I'm all for it.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, Ian, we have now seen the New York Mets, the Philadelphia Phillies, and now the Atlanta Braves in this 3-team hunt for the NL East. And we remember when Ronald Acuna went down with a torn ACL, that this Atlanta team, they were not going to sell, but did we think that they were going to be buyers? I didn't think so, but maybe again, you hit your stride. You've won eight out of your last 10. You're 6 games over 500. All you need to do is make the playoffs and anything can happen. What about this Mets team? Do they have what it takes to get up to the top of the division? Because I don't know, if they lose that, they're probably out. There's this NL East is not going to send a wild card team.
No, and the Mets, in my opinion, lost their chance back in June. This is a team that has underperformed offensively the whole year. We can't understate, despite the fact they lost Jacob deGrom, despite the fact they lost Francisco Lindor. I'm tired of making excuses with the injuries. We said if we rewind back to our season preview show and we spoke about the Mets, I said over and over again that this team had a lot of what ifs coming into the year. A lot of what ifs.
I remember that.
They wanted to wait out JT Real. They didn't want to wait out JT Realmuto, so they went out and got James McCann, signed him to a 4-year deal. How's that contract looking so far? He's not producing. They didn't want to go, they tried to pay Bauer big money. Obviously that worked out pretty well for the Mets considering they didn't sign Bauer. They didn't, everything went down with Jared Porter. Was that coincidental with what happened with George Springer? The Mets blew their shot in June, at the end of June. The Mets had a very difficult stretch of 30 because of all the doubleheaders and all the rainouts and the postponements and the COVID outbreak in Washington that postponed that season opening series. All those doubleheaders came back to bite them in June, where they played, I think it was a stretch of 31 games in 33 days. And I'm pretty sure that entire stretch, or got to be 90% of it, came against divisional opponents. And the Mets, I think at that point, were about 5 or 6 games up in the division. And we're playing the Nationals, they were playing the Braves, and they were playing the Phillies. And the Mets had every opportunity to stomp on their throats and put the division away early. And the Mets went out there, and that's when Kyle Schwarber got hot, and the Mets couldn't beat the Nationals. Then the Mets lost, I think it was 20-2 to the Braves. And then we go down the list. That was, I think they finished that stretch 2 games over 500 of those 31 games, or however many games it was. And that's not how the Mets need, because at that point they still had Lindor. At that point, I think they still had deGrom. And they were getting healthy. I think McNeil and Conforto were still rehabbing. But that was the stretch where the Mets had to put their foot on the gas pedal and drive it down and win that division then. I'll never forget being out at Larry Protagwitz, who's a special guest on the show all the time. He mentioned to me, I think it was a couple of months ago, that the stretch that was going to determine the Mets season was going to be the stretch that was coming up, that we're seeing now, where the Mets are going to play 3 at home against LA. Then they're going to go out west, play 3 in San Francisco, 3 in LA, then come home and host San Francisco for 3. And here's my issue. Would Noah Syndergaard really be complaining about this 12-game stretch if this team was 10 games up in the division?
No, that's what I was telling. That's what I was trying to say.
Would he really be complaining? No, because he wants to play. Because the teams that the Mets were supposed to beat up on, vis-a-vis the Nationals, vis-a-vis the Marlins, the Phillies, the Braves, who were down Ronald Acuna, the fact they lost 4-6 to the Pittsburgh Pirates before and after the All-Star break, the fact they lost games to the Arizona Diamondbacks in May, the fact they lost games to the Baltimore Orioles in May, what series do my fellow Met fans want to point out to me and tell me I'm wrong for thinking that this team was not going to win the division in April? I said this team had what ifs coming into the year. I wasn't joking. Pete Alonso is streaky. Michael Conforto has had one All-Star season. The guy is not clutch. What have you seen out of J.D. Davis since 2019 to suggest to you that this guy is going to be a consistent offensive producing player? The only consistent player, and granted he hasn't produced this year, that the Mets have on that team is Francisco Lindor. That is it. Him and probably Brandon Nimmo.
I mean, but Ian, I will go back to what you said here. Look, you did say you're tired of using the injury excuse. The problem is these injuries are coming to to your best players.
To a certain point,
There's
yes.
difference makers.
I understand that, but at the same time, you can't. This team still has scored the second, and quote me if I'm wrong here, Joey. I don't know if they're even dead last at this point, but they can't be dead last to the Pirates. But they have scored the second fewest runs of any team in Major League Baseball.
I believe that does sound about correct.
The team's not scoring, but that's what happens when your best. That is what happens when your best hitter sits.
I understand that injuries have decimated this team to a point of where they've lost key offensive players. Conforto's gone down, McNeil's gone down, Nimmo's gone down, Alonso's gone down, Lindor's gone down, JD's gone down. Everybody, I think, except James McCann, I think, has gotten Dom.
Yeah, someone's been down at some point.
But to a certain extent, okay, the Mets were getting production out of their bench, and they have enough players. If Lindor goes down, they have enough players in that lineup that should be producing. If McNeil goes down, they have enough players in that lineup that should be producing. If Conforto goes down, they have enough players in that lineup, if everybody else is healthy, to be producing. I know it's not easy if your entire lineup is in such a scattered way, hurt all the time. So you're losing one player in April, one player in May, one player in June. You have to beat up on the bottom tier teams in this league. The Mets has schedule full of it the first half of the year, and somehow we're only 2.5 games up going into the All-Star break. That is why the Mets are not in the playoffs. Okay, the Mets needed to go out. Think about where this team probably is right now if JT Realmuto is the Mets starting catcher over James McCann. Think about where the Mets probably are right now if people thought Dom McCann. Wow, I'm combining names here. If Dom Smith's bat, everybody said Dom Smith has to be in the lineup every day. I'll take George Springer over Dom Smith right now. I have no problem saying that, nor should any Met fan. If the Mets went out there and overpaid and exceeded the luxury tax, now granted, they tried to go out there and pay Springer and pay Bauer. They didn't want to wait on Realmuto. If they would have just gone out there because they have the richest owner in baseball and actually exceeded the luxury tax and gone out and gotten the players that they absolutely had to get because they were going to go shopping in the gourmet section, this division would be over. JT Realmuto is producing at a much better clip than James McCann. George Springer is producing now at a much better clip than Dom Smith. You know why? Because they're all-stars. James McCann is not an all-star. Dom Smith is not an all-star. Michael Conforto is a one-time all-star. Pete Alonso has not even been an all-star in his career yet. So, yeah, you're waiting on these players. You're expecting Pete Alonso to hit 290 with 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. You're hoping Dom Smith's going to give you similar numbers. You're hoping Michael Conforto's going to give you similar numbers. They haven't done that on a consistent basis yet. That was my issue with the Mets coming into the season. That's why I thought when you looked at their win total and you saw 90.5, I told you guys under 90 is going to win the National League East. Under 90 is probably going to win the National League East. So there.
You did say this.
Yeah, I just grinded my gears on the Mets. That is my issue with the Mets. I'm not surprised that they are in the position they are. They deserve to be where they are right now. They should. I think they're going to finish the season in third place, and I'd be shocked if they didn't.
So just to go back to Ian's point about
it was a long one
about runs scored. Right now, out of 15 teams in the National League, the New York Mets are ranked 14th, just in front of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have scored 46 runs in their last 15 games, and just ahead of them are the lowly Chicago Cubs, who have scored one more run than the New York Mets, and the Cubs that is, they're on an 11-game losing streak.
And traded everybody away.
And sold the entire squad. That's
rebuild
bad.
time for the Cubs.
It is. Well, I'll tell you this, though. But I want to go back to Ian's point about shopping in the gourmet section and shopping in the really not just not a good way to come out of the All-Star break. Not only that, how about the trade deadline? You got to see what the Los Angeles Dodgers are doing, okay? The richest owner in baseball is not Magic Johnson. It is not his group. It is not Derek Jeter and company. It is not the Steinbrenners. It is not Ted Lerner down in Washington. It is Stephen A. Cohen in Queens, okay? The man is worth $14.2 billion. At some point, people are going to have to start pointing fingers to somebody that is named Sandy Alderson, and he might be the scapegoat in terms of where this team, the direction that the team is going. In the last 30 days in the National League, the New York Mets are ranked 13th out of 15 teams in the National League, having scored 108 runs, just in front of the San Diego Padres and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not a winning look. And also looking all the way up the standings, the Atlanta Braves in third place, or they are ranked third in the National League in runs scored with 141. So again, just like what Ian said, we don't know if this is going to be a 3-team race. And just to get your exact yes or no, Ian, is this a 3-team race heading in down the stretch for the NL East title?
No, I don't think so. I really think it's going to be a 2. I still don't know how the Phillies are doing what the Phillies are doing, and it's not much because the NL East is so bad.
I think it's got something to do with. I think it's got something to do with a guy named JT Realmuto.
No, it's more got something to do with a guy named Zach Wheeler.
Him too. Both should sound familiar to you, Ian.
Yeah, well,
Brody Van Wagenen knows. Say Brody Van Wagenen knows a ton about Zach Wheeler, and
look. I'll still be the first one to be on Brody's bandwagon when I said they did not need to re-sign Zach Wheeler. So I'll be the first to raise my hand and call me the lone wolf, but I didn't think that he was a second coming of Patrick Corbin as far as I was concerned. But
wow,
look,
that is true.
Hey, that could be true. I hope he exceeds expectations in the city that I hate so much. And with
I can't stand it either.
But look, I want to give credit to the Atlanta Braves because they, understandably so, they didn't sell. And nor should they have, because the Mets didn't, as I said, the Mets didn't run away with the division the way the Phillies and Braves and Nationals and Marlins all thought they should have, was that they went out and they traded for Eddie Rosario. I thought that was such an important move for the Atlanta Braves because, look, they went out, they traded for Jock. Jock gives them a nice leadoff hitter, which is usually Ronald Acuna's spot in the lineup. Eddie Rosario, let's not forget, I mean, the Cleveland Indians went out there and got Eddie Rosario because they lost Lindor. And they plugged him right into the middle, into the thick of really a depleted lineup. And Eddie Rosario is a former All-Star in Minnesota. I think he was an All-Star 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I think that was a perfect move at the deadline for them because first off, the Indians are selling. We know the Indians are rebuilding. And the Braves are trying to keep pace in a really bad division. And if you go out there and sign a guy with some pop, like Eddie Rosario, that you could plug right in the middle of that lineup with Freddie Freeman and Ozzie Albies and Jock Peterson, that lineup looks a whole lot better than it did at the time Acuna got hurt, when you're just depending on Freddie to do everything. So I'm not surprised the Braves are in the position they are. They made the right move. They went out there, Alex Anthopoulos doing Alex Anthopoulos things, and the Braves are in the division lead, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, just by looking at some of the numbers also from Patrick Corbin, just because you brought up Zach Wheeler earlier. For those that do not know, Zach Wheeler pretty much blasted the Mets when he was not signed. Yeah. And then Brody Van Wagenen, for all of those that really do not know or not Mets fans, Brody Van Wagenen did come back and talk about and saying how those 2 years of his performance in Queens turned into $118 million over 5 years. He was very surprised at that and basically said that Brody Van Wagenen then came out and said that he is satisfied with his pitching staff that he had last year. Most would think probably that when you look at the pitching staff of the Mets just a couple of years ago when they had Matt Harvey leading the way and Zach Wheeler was there, they had probably one of the best 1 through 5s in all of baseball. And now things are, beginning to crumble again. And Zach Wheeler is right there, who might just be taking in the NL Cy Young Award at the end of this year. I want to go back to what Ian brought up about Patrick Corbin. In 2019, when the Nationals won the World Series, he went 14-7 with a 3.25 ERA. And since then, Patrick Corbin has been a combined 8-19 and an ERA of a combined 5.47. So you never know. I mean,
well, Joey, let me ask you this: what were his stats, if you have them pulled up, before he went to Washington?
For Patrick Corbin
in Arizona, right?
So in his most recent, or rather 2018, his final year in Arizona, he was 11-7 with a 3.15 ERA. In 2017, 14-13 with a 4.03. Yeah. And you get to see it, obviously, in 2016 when the Arizona Diamondbacks completely sold everybody. That was the year, I believe, the year after that Justin Upton and all those guys were completely sold off. He went 5-13. And in the year with Upton and with all of those guys, 6-5, 14-8.
And then when you compare it with Zach Wheeler's stats, it's not much different.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much aligned with Corbin right now. But we'll see. Listen, who knows? We got to see what Zach Wheeler has been able to do in 2 years, well, in longer than 2 years with the Mets. But those 2 big years for him with the Mets turned into, as we said, 5 years over, or $118 million over 5 years. And right now, things are looking good for him, as well as Joe Girardi and his entire staff down in Philadelphia. Guys,
let's. How are those Yankee fans missing Joe Girardi right now?
Yeah, I miss him so much.
I don't know. All I can tell you is that sometimes analytics is evil. Is a good thing. Guys, let's take a peek here at a couple of the comments. Brian Morales, go Cubs, go. Well, that would be nice. And of course, a credit to our good friend, Chicago Cubs hitting coach Anthony Iapoce, who has a very difficult job in front of him. And also
maybe in about 5 years when that Cubs rebuild is ready again. But.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Zabo says Mets getting swept in Philly the other week might be the nail in the coffin.
No, I don't want to say the nail in the coffin, Mike. They blew their shot in June, and then for them to just put up the dud that they did against the Pittsburgh Pirates, everything was kind of laid out from there. This team came home for a 10-game stretch where they played the Braves, the Reds, and I forgot the other team on that, and the Blue Jays. And they opened with the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays, who can hit, they took 2 out of 3 from, and then completely stunk it up against the Reds and the Braves to follow. This is a team that had, like I said, I'm not going to try and repeat myself, but they had their chance to put that division away. To me, the nail in the coffin was then. Only to be succeeded by losing 4-6 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. That really the nail in the coffin. If you want to point to one individual moment, the Sunday before the All-Star break, the loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates when they were up, I think it was 4 or 5-0.
Yes.
And slowly that lead died, and then Edwin Diaz giving up the tying and game-winning hits in the top of the 9th. That is the loss, if you want to point to one individual loss to say that was the turning point after not doing what they should have done in that 33-game stretch against divisional opponents. That is the game to point to and say the nail in the coffin, even if they were in the division lead at that point.
Well, Brian Morales also says, going back to the Yankees topic, I am in the minority on this. I'll stick with Boone. It is frustrating, but so was Girardi. Rob DeLuca, respond.
He's right. Look, both managers had their frustrating points. But for me, it's always going to be, I'll never know how in favor of analytics you fire a guy that took a supposed rebuild team 1 game away from the World Series. So when they went out, they got the weapon. When they realized that this team was better than they actually were rebuilding, they go out at the deadline, pick up some weapons, and then they were right then and there 1 game away from the World Series, which they were obviously cheated out of because this was 2017. The Astros were proved to have been cheating. So they were cheated out of a World Series appearance against the Dodgers, and who knows how that would have gone. Nobody knows. So that's forever a what if, but that's why I was not a fan of Boone getting hired then. I don't hate Aaron Boone, but Joe Girardi getting canned the way he did was no fair, and it's as simple as that.
Well, Boone's a puppet, and Girardi wasn't.
Oh, Girardi's no puppet. Boone's a very big puppet to the headmaster puppet Brian Cashman, to the clown show that is Hal Steinbrenner.
Well, listen, let me just say something though. In terms of the moves at the trade deadline, we want to talk about geniuses or puppets, and for what Brian Cashman gave up to get none other than Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo, and of course, New York Yankees legend Andrew Heaney. Just
that's right.
Listen, just what he has done is great. But what Aaron Boone has done, I am in complete disagreement with Brian. I love you, but no. Yeah, Joe Girardi, the way he was canned, and yes, we know that there were many times as Yankees fans, I can attest to this for sure, that a lot of the decisions We're based on analytics. We're based on we're based on certain things like that. But what we're seeing now, where it is solely on analytics and not really any, any baseball knowledge. Like, obviously, you got some baseball knowledge, yada yada yada. But
Go watch
everything is
Moneyball.
based. Say it again.
Go watch Moneyball. You'll see why you can't rely solely on analytics. Baseball just doesn't work that way.
And I almost feel like the way that Aaron Boone is going, and we also got to see what the pitching coach and Matt Blake was all about. He's all about analytics as well. So, this is the new Major League Baseball. That is what it is. And again, we don't want to get so much into the whole Joe Girardi thing. I didn't agree with his.
My thing with the Yankees have to go and find a way, and I don't know how they're going to do it because they don't want to exceed the luxury tax. They need to go get pitching. Bad.
They went out and they got Andrew Heaney. Ian, how much more do you want?
Andrew Heaney's why the Yankees lost the Field of Dreams game.
Oh, stop. No, they need to go out and get starting pitching. The problem is they don't want to exceed the luxury tax. No,
it's bad. Taxes are evil.
No one is taking on Stanton's contract. So I mean, at this point, who are they trading? And if they're going to re-sign Judge, I don't know how. I mean, they're going to have to exceed the luxury tax.
Well, based on what we're hearing this afternoon, Clint Frazier's career might be over, let alone season.
But they're not going to pay Clint Frazier. I mean,
you don't know. You didn't know that though. You didn't know that. There was no telling because Clint Frazier is so unknown.
No, I could sit here and discuss Yankee pitching all day, but like
you could. I don't know how. I don't know why you would, but you could.
But I don't know what the move for the front office is to address that pitching, because they can go out there and re-sign Anthony Rizzo, have Joey Gallo on under control for another year. It's not going to matter. Jack.
I personally would dip into the Japan League.
Has no starting pitching behind Garrett Cole.
Starting pitching. I would dip it. I'd dip
Garrett
into
Cole's
it.
been worth every bit the penny. But even Garrett Cole has been a bit of a shell of himself this year, so that's not helping the Yankees either.
I can tell you why. I could tell you why, Ian.
The sticky stuff.
We already know the answer. Sticky stuff is why. Absolutely.
Right.
But me personally, I would dip into the Japanese baseball league and get starting pitcher from there. There's this really good player. His name's Masahiro Tanaka. I think the Yankees would benefit very well.
He's not coming back.
No kidding. He's not coming back.
He is not coming back. But I want to see here what Brian Morales says. 1 infinity 0%. Andrew Xavier Heaney, but we need pitching. Yes, that is very true. Listen, let me tell you something about Andrew Heaney, okay? And for those that did not hear early on, where DeLuca is going to the game on Wednesday, bearing any weather, I'm going to the game as well on Wednesday with a friend of mine. And I can tell you this, that it will probably be a 14-2 blowout in favor of the Boston Red Sox. Why? Because we got to see the Red Sox. They're now, I think they've won their last 3. And Andrew Heaney, what better former Los Angeles Angel to send out to the onto the bump? What a disaster. Mike Szabo, Boone is a yes man to the front office, slave to analytics. Game 2 of the 2020 ALDS.
No, we're never talking about that game, Mike. We're not talking about that game, Mike. All right.
Mike,
moving on.
That one really hurts.
We're not talking about that.
And that I just felt a little, maybe, I don't know if it was heartburn. I don't know if I just had a coronary. I don't know.
You might have had a little palpitation there.
I might have. Yes. That. Good Lord. Well, let's get to something a little bit better here. What Mike said, going back to Brian's comment, Frank Schwindel, yes, former St. John's Red Storm starring at Cubs. I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, I could tell you this. 2 New York guys going at it. You got Iapoce, the hitting coach, and Schwindel too. Really good stuff there, and a great story for all of the New York fans, and especially all the Johnny's fans out there. Really good stuff. Guys, let's keep on moving forward here. We're at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock Eastern time here on the East Coast. Alongside my guys, Ian Schraier and Rob DeLuca, I'm Joey Jarzynka. Cannot thank you all enough for joining us here for the first hour of our show, but let us get into hour number 2. So the moment that everyone has been waiting for, we are going to continue our NFL division by division preview, and we've got 3 divisions left. Tonight, we've got the AFC East. Next week, the 23rd of August, we've got the NFC West. And we saved the best for last on our final Monday show of the summer, the AFC West. That will be on the 30th of August all right here on the Primetime Rundown. Guys, let's get to the AFC East preview. We were supposed to have Brian Morales on. Of course, he got caught up with a whole bunch of work again for all the collegiate athlete
That
folks.
means we're expecting a lot of comments, Brian.
That's right. That's right. We expect some.
Don't you dare. Don't put that idea in his head. He'll take it and run with it, though.
That's right. That is true. And listen, we welcome all of it. There's no doubt about it. But
we love you, Brian. We love
that's
you.
right. Guys, let's get things started here. I want to start, save the best for last, or save the New York team for last, of course. And I want to start off with the, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I guess the quote-unquote worst team in the division, the Miami Dolphins. I want to start with them. And the reason why I didn't start off with the New England Patriots is because I personally believe that they are going to be better than the Dolphins this year, and the Patriots could even vie for a playoff spot. Ian Schraier, I want to start with you with Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, and what really grinds your gears about Brian Flores' Dolphins down in South Beach.
Well, I think Brian Flores is making a real nice case for with his time so far in Miami. I think he's been shocking a lot of the league, a lot of the division the last couple of years, and what he's been able to employ down in South Beach. But I think a lot for the Dolphins. Well, I said this actually a couple of weeks ago to a friend who's a diehard Dolphins fan, and I said that in order for the Dolphins to, not even in order for the Dolphins to, what the Dolphins have to do this year is they have to take over the New England Patriots, or I should say overtake the New England Patriots. I think that is, I don't think anyone's catching Buffalo, okay, first and foremost. But I think the next step for the Dolphins, for a team, excuse me, that, hey, look, on the hands of Fitzmagic, who's no longer there anymore, found a way to just miss out on the playoffs. And I think, and that's because they were devoted to getting Tua Tagovailoa reps. And we saw the first year struggles that he had in Miami. They went back to Fitz. They started winning games again, and they just finished on the outside looking in. I think they trailed, the Colts by a game. Heading, once the season ended, in the postseason race. But they need to overtake New England this year. I think New England, you can never count them out, and I know Joey certainly doesn't count them out. It's very hard to. I'm still not sold on Cam and Belichick really getting along up in Foxborough. I didn't like what I saw out of the two of them last year, but we'll get into that in a minute. But for Miami, they need to find a way. Unfortunately, what happens in the NFL, and unless really you're Russell Wilson, they really don't tailor the offense to your strengths. And even though we're seeing more and more employment of the RPO, the run pass option, in the NFL now more than ever. So we're seeing a lot more of college type offenses in the NFL because you have to adapt. They haven't done that in Miami yet. What made Tua so good at the University of Alabama was his ability to scramble. He ran out of the pistol almost exclusively, and on just about every time he threw the ball, he rolled out and scrambled, and made plays on his feet. They asked him last year to really do a lot in the pocket, and that is not Tua Tagovailoa's strength. I think if they really try to continue to work at that with him, it's going to really be to his downfall. He really did not have a good mini camp. Was pretty efficient actually in his first preseason game the other day against the Bears, but a lot of what Miami does, and I know we always say it always goes back to the quarterback, but a lot for Miami is built on. You can't even say that their defense could even save games for them at this point, because their defense last year was very, very solid. Is what Tua can do for them. If that offense does not work for Tua, they're going to it's really going to be a tough go of it for them. Look, Jalen Waddle looked really exciting, their first round draft pick out of Alabama, especially on special teams, for the Dolphins in their first preseason game. So there's a lot to look forward to there. I think, right now, I think I'm still going to put the Dolphins. I think I got to put the Dolphins right now in third place. I know that's hard to say coming off last year, but that's because I think Fitz really carried the Dolphins last year offensively. It's hard to say against it. I'm really pulling for Tua to do good things. I'm just not so sure. Again, it's been 1 year, so the jury is still very much out on him. But based on what we saw last year and what we're seeing in the offseason this year, it's hard for me to put them over New England at this point. But I think the two keys for the Dolphins coming into this year are A, overtaking the New England Patriots, and B, even more so, more than just A, is finding the right offense for Tua to fit in year two.
And something also, too, we have to realize that you had Fitzmagic back there behind Tua Tagovailoa. But now the big thing for me here is that you replace Fitzmagic with Jacoby Brissett. And don't get me wrong, that is also one of Brian Flores' guys from New England. So again, beginning this New England type thing that are we're going to be recruiting a lot of these New England guys. Brian Morales says Brian Flores will figure it out. It starts and ends with Tua. I don't.
It all depends how they tailor that offense to him, though. That's
tough
because it did not look good in year one. I'll say that much. And look, we could say that for a lot of quarterbacks in the National Football League, but Tua Tagovailoa is not a pocket passer. If you're going to try to convert him into one, it's going to be a very difficult time.
Yeah, and not only that, too, we also have to realize, too, that this – and I want to move over to the defensive side for the Miami Dolphins here before we get to DeLuca. And we look at their three starting corners, which if you put three starting corners up against the New York Giants, they give those two, in my opinion, those two teams are the top two. And this is a bold statement for the best trio of cornerbacks in the entire NFL. Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, and it'd actually be just those two. Excuse me, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. And those two again. Xavier Howard had wanted out. Byron Jones got paid what he wanted to get paid after his stint in Dallas. And Brian Flores came out publicly and spoke about Xavier Howard, and he is a part of this team. He's going to get paid, and he's not leaving. So what did Xavier Howard do? He came back, he reported to camp, and he's going to play. Yes, he may be disgruntled. But how much distraction is that going to bring around the locker room? I don't know. And again, with all of the struggles with what Tua has had, I personally believe that this Miami Dolphins team is not going to be the 10-6 Dolphins that we got to see last year. And again, what Ian said was that Fitzmagic was there to kind of pick up the pieces. He started all of this, and they finished off with Tua. Let's look back and see what
then they went back to him again, Joey. Don't forget.
Right, exactly.
They went back to him again.
And the Dolphins struggled in their last five last year. They went 3-2 in their last five. Yes, okay, you still win three out of 5 games, but again, within the within the division, they went 3-3. Not ideal. Yes, you're going up against the Buffalo Bills, but this team, in my opinion, really should have scored also more than 404 points. They put up 404 total points on the season as well. I'm pretty
sure that Week 17 game, Joey, against Buffalo wasn't even close, right?
I believe that is the case. I don't know exactly.
I think Miami needed a win and help to get in. But
that does sound.
I don't even think the game was close.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see what happened there, and it was nearly. It was a 56-26 loss, and exactly what you said. Not even close. And that one was up in Buffalo as well. So there was no nothing there. And it almost seemed like the team nearly gave up. This team will finish in third place. Obviously we're saving the last place team for last, with the New York Jets. We'll get to that later on. DeLuca, let's get to you with the Miami Dolphins. What are your thoughts on what they can do or have done, or what their potential really is, or Tua's potential?
What this team was a playoff team last year with Fitzmagic as their quarterback. I mean, I'm sorry to say they were winning. They were winning way more than they were losing. And for whatever reason, the Miami Dolphins thought it was more important to get their potential franchise quarterback the reps earlier than necessary, because I can't explain that. It was more important to them than winning football games, apparently. Which made no sense to me, because they had a real shot at the playoffs.
I don't know if I agree with you there, Rob.
I mean,
look, I don't want to sit here and make a Giants comparison, but you can easily say that the Giants in 2004 were very much primed in the playoff run when Kurt Warner handed the reins over to Eli. At some point you have to. I'm not saying. Look, I think we've gotten into a point where
that team was terrible. They finished 5-11.
Yep. Well, I think they started out like 3-2 or whatever it was.
That's not that great.
No,
yeah, I get your point though. It's not that great.
Yeah,
but
they were competitive, and then Kurt Warner said, "Let's hand the reins over to Eli." But
Kurt Warner was also 75 years old. But that's besides.
You only went to an NFC Championship game in Arizona. Let's
about 4 years later.
Yeah. But I think we have to. We're expecting I guess the best analogy, the best comparison to use is Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers got drafted. Drafted by Green Bay. He sat behind Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers turned into one of the. Sure, let's call him one of the best. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time.
Sure.
Or non-NFC Championship quarterbacks of all time. But I think that's the bar that we hold all of this to. Like, the whole idea is do we want to start, are the San Francisco 49ers going to start Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo week 1? Are the, I can't remember. No, Baker started week 1 when he was drafted, but like you go down the list.
No, I get your point. No,
trust me. Quarterback at a need and don't have a quarterback already in place. Not everything could be Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, and I think
no.
And
that was a rare thing.
I think for Brian Flores, who, even though things were going good for Miami and look, 10-6 is nothing to sneeze at. They needed to see what they had in Tua. That's why I disagree with you there, Rob.
No, I get your point.
Because they needed. Granted, look, they went back. Tua didn't work out.
They had to go back to Fitz because they were like, wait.
And then they went back to Tua again.
Right.
So there was definitely some indecisiveness about where they wanted to go.
Right. That's where it gets confusing. Ian, that's where it gets confusing because they went back to Fitz. Like, if you you could switch to Tua. Like, if that was always the plan, fine, but stick to him.
I guess
what are you going back to Fitz for?
I understand that. I mean, he was struggling out of the gate. But
he was. But if he wasn't ready, why? It was just a lot of questionable coaching decisions there, and it ended up costing the Dolphins a playoff spot.
Oh, I agree.
In all retrospect.
Well, let this settle in your head though for a second, Rob. If the Miami Dolphins made the playoffs and go to the wild card game, who's your starting quarterback?
I mean, you dance with the date that brought you there, and that would fit. And because
in theory, right? But
in theory, it should have been Fitz because I don't dance with who brought you there, and also he's got the experience.
But I don't think the answer is that simple.
Oh no, not with the Dolphins right now. It's probably not that simple. But now
to get back, point, I don't think it's that simple.
Right, and to get to this year, it does. Brian's right. It does start and end with Tua. It's all on him at this point. That's why the Dolphins went out and drafted his best friend from college, Jalen Waddle. Yep. That was a very smart draft pick. They had their choice between Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, and I would almost guarantee they asked him, who would you prefer? And he said Jalen, so they drafted Jalen Waddle. And I mean, look, I can't confirm that they asked Tua. I just think it would make sense to have asked him because you're relying on your future quarterback. You have 2 elite options at number 1 wide.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He had 2 elite options from Alabama that he played with both of them. Who'd you prefer? I can't imagine that they didn't ask him.
No,
but that's besides the point.
No way. They're not going to. They're not going to ask a first-year quarterback. Who do you want?
They might not, but at the same time,
unless you're in Jacksonville and you want ask Trevor Lawrence if you want a starting running back behind him.
Yeah, that's just it.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that that things have gone the way they have gone with Tua Tagovailoa. But all I can tell you is that they definitely did not. And again,
they probably didn't. But I mean,
no. But you know what? And I'll tell you this. And I'm not going to completely shut you down. All I'm going to say is that if they did, then they are a big embarrassment. Because
I'm going to agree.
Then that means
that
means, DeLuca, that a lot of these rookie quarterbacks are literally running their draft room. They're running the war room. I don't expect that to
I
be.
don't know about rookies, but some players are doing. Some players do run their room.
That's
It's
and
very
Aaron Rodgers is not.
I don't think Tua
conversation.
Tagovailoa has earned that reputation.
No, I'd
Definitely
hope
not.
I'd hope
Definitely not.
Hey, look,
Again,
if he made the playoffs on his shoulders after Fitz'
I mean, maybe. But yeah, in terms of this,
everything goes out the door. But I don't.
In terms of this season, we got another game, 17 games, but Tua's going to play all of them. It's going to be an interesting year. I have them finishing in third place. They're in third place, comfortably third place. But nonetheless, like Brian said, so yeah, they finished third place. They're going to finish third place. That record is fair. I'd say it's more like I'd say it's more like 7-10, 8-9. But
I agree with
that. I would say 7-10, 8-9. But
so Brian Morales' comment, let's put this back up on the screen for our audio listeners. My prediction for the Dolphins this upcoming year, 7-10, potentially 6-11. Sadly, gotta say they do finish third.
And he's right. He's right. Look, they are going to finish third, and it's going to be comfortably in third place. It's 7-10, 8-9. That's where they're going to be. That's where I have them chilling pretty much all season long. They're just not. They're not ready. The Dolphins are not ready to take that big step yet. I mean, look, maybe Tua will shock us, but based on what we've seen,
where the big step lies.
Right, that's where the big step becomes, and I don't think we've seen enough to say that he will make that big step to overtake the Patriots now.
I don't know if we haven't. I don't know, and I'll make this my last point about the Fins. Like I don't know, to Rob's point, if it's that we've seen enough. I don't know if
he has enough.
Yeah.
No, hey, it's
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that
after
1 year. I don't want to say that after 1 year, but I think it's after 1 year, it's hard not to say it.
No, exactly. It's fair to ask. That's all it is. And we'll just see. But I think it looks like the three of us are in unanimous agreement here. The Miami Dolphins will be finishing roughly 7-10, 8-9 in a comfortable third place.
Well, I want to talk about a team that actually finished third last year. That was the New England Patriots. And I want to talk about some of their additions, both on defense and offense. And I'm going to tell you guys the reason why the New England Patriots will finish in second place in the AFC East. Bold prediction. And they will also be, you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen?
Don't you dare say it.
Don't 2 games behind the Buffalo Bills.
I thought Joey was about to guarantee Patriots playoffs as well.
Nope. I will not say that. I will not say that whatsoever. But what I will say is that they will finish with a winning record. Let's not forget.
Joey, what you're saying is not that bold. They're going to finish in second place. There's nobody that's going to pass them, and they're not passing the Bills. So, that's not exactly that bold.
Well, let me tell you the reason why right now. And for those that are wondering about some of the offseason additions, we don't want to say that Dante Hightower is an offseason addition, but he did opt out last year due to COVID. So he will be kind of, a welcome back, if you will. They're going to be welcoming back the usual guys on the defensive line: Dietrich Wise, Lawrence Guy, Chase Winovich. He'll be coming back as well. They also welcomed in Matthew Judon. That is a massive upgrade at linebacker. Also, let's not forget, they also re-signed Kyle Van Noy after 1 year in Miami under Brian Flores. That one did not work out. So now he's back up in New England. Also, Devin McCourty lost his twin brother in Jason McCourty to the aforementioned Miami Dolphins. Adrian Phillips will now take over his spot at the free safety spot. Stephon Gilmore, there was some talks possibly he might want out of New England. Then we look on the offensive side of the ball. Cam Newton finally has some weapons to throw to. He's got Philadelphia Eagles legend Nelson Aguilar. Let's not forget, we've got him there. Okay, we got him there as well.
Yeah.
And
Nelson Aguilar is a wide receiver 1. You've got problems.
That is correct. And guess what? All I can say is that this guy he believes that Nelson Aguilar is a wide receiver 1. And you know what? I'll tell you this.
He wasn't in Vegas. He won't be in New England.
Debatable. We will see right now with what Nelson Aguilar can bring to the table as the wide receiver 1. Jacoby Myers is also there. Not great, but This is something else too, is that we have to realize that Michael Thomas did not have communication with the Saints for nearly 3 months. There were a lot of memes and a lot of rumors saying, well, maybe you never know. Keep an eye out on the Patriots, sending a 3rd-round pick and potentially in Kill Harry, who wants out. Somebody else that maybe Bill Belichick can kind of finagle in Sean Payton's face and say, here, we'll take Michael Thomas on, and all of a sudden it's the Cam Newton-Thomas show, and you've got Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, those 2 guys coming from Los Angeles, the Chargers, as well as the Tennessee Titans, respectively, and you've pretty much have your entire offensive line back, which just a few years ago was still fairly good. Sony Michel, Damian Harris, James White, those guys, they're all back. I really say that this team can be 11-6.
I don't think that's all that bold, Joey. I think you're onto something here with that. And I mean, look, this team, you're right. A lot of the COVID opt-outs are back. And that's what hindered the New England Patriots originally.
And they still went 7-9 last year.
Right. They weren't even that bad. I mean, look, they weren't good, but still, yeah, they were only a game under 500. So it's really hard to say that this team won't improve. Getting all these weapons back, I'd say their biggest loss there was the McCourty twin going elsewhere. But yeah, other than that, I mean, look, here's a bold take, by the way, Joey, just to respond to your little smirkiness there. Nelson Aguilar will have more drop passes than Evan Ingram this year. So that'll be that. And
yes, he agrees with you too.
Yeah. But no, nonetheless, the New England Patriots, while there's always going to be question marks surrounding Cam Newton right now, if he stays healthy, that'll keep the New England Patriots within their relevance at 11 and around that 10-7, 11-6 mark. Because look, the point of the matter is Mac Jones is not ready, and as Brian Morales says here, New England Patriots additions. Anyone that played for us in the past. Subtraction.
Tom Brady. Henry Anderson. Keep that name in mind, boys.
Prediction with a glass of whiskey. 9-8, 10-7. I believe the New England Patriots are looking at that 10-7, maybe even 11-6. But look, this team is someone that will improve from last season. There's no question about that. Yeah. They will be in the playoff race. To say they will make the playoffs is another story, because 11-6, you're kind of talking playoffs here, especially in the AFC. But 10-7 is kind of that cusp right now. So we'll have to wait and see. As Mike Zabo, our friend here, says, Patriots lost steam after Cam got COVID. He's healthy now and has weapons. Watch out. Patriots were surpassing expectations a bit before Cam got sick. And once again, Mike is right again, because that's exactly what happened. That's why you can't that's exactly why Cam Newton was brought back on another 1-year deal. Because look, Mac Jones is not ready. I don't think Mac Jones sees the field this year. I'm unless they're up by like 30. Unless the Patriots are up or down by 30 in the fourth.
Well, keep in mind, you also have in that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Luca, but you also have in that quarterback room, you still have Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham as well. We expect, I mean, I could tell you, I would expect, unless Mac Jones completely just stars out and balls out everywhere. Listen, he could be doing what he did last year in Alabama. We don't know. Could he be doing it on the NFL field? I don't know. I personally don't think so. And especially because we want to see some growth. And I think right now it's not out of the question that you might see a Brian Hoyer or a Jarrett Stidham play in that, they might be dressed as the QB2 or to be the first scratch would kind of be, parentheses QB3, if you will, on the depth chart.
And hold on, Joey. Brian wants to yell at me and Ian. First Ian.
And Ian, we don't mention Henry Anderson ever.
Big emphasis on ever.
I'll come back to it.
And now he's yelling at. Now he's telling me Mac Jones will play against the Jets in both games. Hot take. Now, look, there's no saying whether or not there's a good chance of that, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think that's where I'll leave it. I'll send it over to Ian now. Patriots will be my prediction 10-7, second place comfortably. in the playoff hunt late, probably going to fall just short.
Ian Schraier.
This is why I love this show so much, because pull up Zabo's comment one more time, if you don't mind.
Sure.
There we go.
Because I'm going to disagree with both Mike and Rob regarding he's healthy now and has weapons. Watch out.
Nelson Aguilar doesn't do it for you, Ian? What's the matter with you?
Please stop. The two keys to me when you want to talk about having weapons for the Patriots, when you want to talk about them offensively, one is N'Keal Harry. Whether he wanted out of New England or not, it is one thing. But he is still a first-round draft pick that they're hoping is going to pan out. Nelson Aguilar was a questionable wide receiver 1 in Vegas. Kendrick Bourne was basically a wide receiver 3, 4, or 5 in his career in San Francisco. And Hunter Henry, I'm not saying we're all still waiting. It's kind of like the Zach Ertz effect a little bit. Sorry, Joey. It's like you're still waiting for Hunter Henry to re-find his form from about 4 years ago. And every year, myself included, someone drafts him like in the 7th or 8th round in fantasy football and be like, this is my sleeper pick, and then I'm taking him way too early because I think he's just going to break out because he's got Cam Newton throwing him the ball, or he's got Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball, and Hunter Henry's going to find the end zone because 5 years ago he had a year with 8 or 9 touchdowns, and he's never been able to recover from his torn ACL ever since. So that's my issue with the Patriots, is that first, Hunter Henry hasn't been healthy in probably 5 years. Secondly, Jonnu Smith right now is hurt. So he just got hurt in training camp. So there hasn't been too much information released about his status, but he's hurt. There's question marks in the wide receiving corps, for sure. They do not have a true number 1 receiver. They need N'Keal Harry to finally be the receiver that they're hoping for. The biggest bright spot for the Patriots has been where it's been the last few years. And it's in there. I mean, besides who's under center, if Cam can stay healthy, it's who's in the backfield for the Patriots. Damian Harris got hurt last year. We really didn't get to see enough of him. And then you just got that backfield with Sony Michel and the great third down backs that come out of New England and James White. So yeah, that's the pieces to look forward to. You really need Hunter Henry to stay healthy. You need Jonnu Smith to stay healthy because Jonnu Smith's your goal line threat. Hunter Henry can break one, and he's also a great goal line weapon. And you need somebody to stand out in that wide receiving corps. That's my concern with New England. Yes, to Brian's point, to go back here for a second, I have them at 9-8, 10-7. I think that's a very, very fair prediction for New England. I think they'll finish just above, and probably 2 or 3 games back, like Joey's saying, of Buffalo. I mean, I think if they finish 10-7, I think 12-5, 13-4 is probably a pretty just prediction for Buffalo. But yeah, going on defense. They really need Stephon Gilmore back. I can't stress that enough. I know he's a holdout right now. I don't know if he's going to come back. At that point, you're really asking for younger guys to step in and play bigger roles. Stephon Gilmore is a lockdown corner in the National Football League, so it's a very difficult type of player to replace. But I'm going to pour a little gasoline on the fire for Brian Morales here. I think getting besides retaining Kyle Van Noy and getting him back from Miami is getting Henry Anderson. I think he has been the best pass rusher for the New York Jets for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think this is a team, unlike where he's comfortable playing in a 3-4. I think it's going to only help him coming to New England, playing for a defensive-minded coach like Bill Belichick. And I think adding Henry Anderson is going to give that team a little bit more of a pass rush and is going to help them, with trying to get to the opposing quarterback. But I think for the Patriots, 10-7, 9-8 is very, very fair. They have a lot of question marks still offensively outside that running game. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise on that. Just because there's just too many questions with injury, especially at the tight end spot, especially with the starting tight end, and with their wide receivers, there's just really no depth right now, and they need N'Keal Harry to step up. N'Keal Harry, Hunter Henry, Stephon Gilmore. Those are my 3 keys to the Patriots in 2020.
It'll be interesting.
But I do think they're a second place team.
So don't put up Brian Morales' comments just yet. I want to just go in order here. So Ian, we speak about how Nelson Aguilar is not a wide receiver 1. I have this video that I want to show you that proves that he is a wide receiver number 1, courtesy of ding burner.
Here comes second and goal from the 6 for the Raiders.
Dating back to last season, make it 19. And goal.
Renfro fake to Jacobs to the end zone and bobbled. Aguilar could not hold on. Boy,
Well, I mean, again, to me, it just seems like it's a no-brainer that Nelson Aguilar is a number one wide receiver.
I mean, he's a top 100 player in the National Football League, Joe.
I mean, listen, if you think otherwise, then you're a fool. I want to go back to Brian Morales' comments here with Henry Anderson. Wait, Henry Anderson was a pass rusher?
Let me ask you a question. When we gave him
all that money for nothing, SMH.
Before Leonard Williams had 11.5 sacks with the Giants last year, who exactly was rushing the quarterback that wasn't Henry Anderson? I'm just curious. I'm really just curious. I mean, look, I thought Quinnen Williams showed some really nice signs last year, and I know we're going to get into the Jets in a little bit, but there was no one else that was rushing the quarterback the way Henry Anderson was for that team the last couple of years. And I'm not sure if they're – granted, maybe nobody else was rushing the quarterback for the Jets, and Henry Anderson is the bright spot.
He answered it for you.
Yeah, no one. But no, Henry Anderson – I mean, he Brian may not want to admit it, but Henry Anderson was by far the most superior pass rusher for the Jets.
Good Lord.
Maybe for Brian that's not saying much considering it's the Jets, but that Henry Anderson will help the Patriots, no doubt.
That is too funny. Guys, I want to keep moving forward here and head over to the Buffalo Bills, the only New York team that actually plays in New York. So, we always have to speak about that.
You had to go there, huh?
That's right. We always had to say about that, but I just want to bring back, just before we get to the real New York team, what Brian Morales said. Henry Anderson was a DE1 under Adam Gase.
Brian Morales, you could have been DE1 under Adam Gase.
So, guys, let's keep moving forward here to the real New York team, the Buffalo Bills. We don't even know what the deal is in terms of where they're going to be playing. And the reason why we bring that up is because the Pigulas, who we all know as hockey fans here as one of the worst owners in all of the National Hockey League, at one point they were really one of the best owners in all of football because of what they allowed Brandon Beane to really put together. They allowed him to put together one of the best rosters in all of football. They also splurged on a massive contract for Josh Allen. And now the window is, I don't want to say it's beginning to close. It's wide open right now, but they've got a lot of competition and I'll bring this up again. They've got the Kansas City Chiefs in there, but they also have on the opposite side too, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who aren't going away. So either way, they have to face one of the two, either if it's Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl or it's Kansas City in the AFC Championship. It's not a good thing right now for the Bills. They are an absolute lock in the AFC East. There's no doubt about it. And they're going to have a second year in a row where they're going to host a playoff game. So that was some pretty cool stuff last year. They didn't host the game for a long time. We got to see last year with COVID, they were able to host about 3,500 fans, I believe, as outgoing Governor Andrew Cuomo allowed that to be with all COVID tests, since vaccines were just getting out there. So that would be pretty cool stuff to see a full building over at Highmark Stadium now, I believe what it's called, in Orchard Park. And then also we got the rumors and the distractions where the Pigulas may pick up and move out to Austin, Texas, if Orchard Park and Buffalo does not pay for the building 100% taxpayer money. Whoa, that's a lot to dissect there. Ian Schraier, I got to start with you on that one.
Could you imagine a third football team in Texas? I mean,
no.
Could you imagine the Bills leaving Buffalo? I mean, there would be riots.
100%.
Buffalo would cease to exist.
No, it's look. The Buffalo Bills are I don't want to say far and away, but they're the superior team in the AFC East.
It's far and away.
They returned everybody. Look, Josh Allen deserved to be paid. He is. I mean, I think I like him at this point more than Russell Wilson in terms of his athleticism. I really.
That'll be a fun topic next week.
Yeah,
that'll be fun to talk about next week.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that I think that as fact. I'm just saying, like, in terms of the way I see him move around the field and make the plays that he does. I mean, I have to see if Buffalo actually plays Seattle this year. I'm not sure they played last year, I think, but and Russell Wilson just has that brutal offensive line in front of him, and unfortunately, I think that kind of scapegoats him a little bit. But look, they added Emmanuel Sanders now as a wide receiver 2 behind Stephon Diggs. Now you got Cole Beasley as a wide receiver 3. So they got deeper at wide receiver. They've got the 2-headed running back. I mean, granted, they're still a little weak back there, but I mean, look, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss make for a really nice combination. Dawson Knox.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, Ian, but you also have to realize Matt Breida just a few years ago with San Francisco was good. And right now on this depth chart, he is running back number 3. That's pretty good stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a team that is continuing to build their depth. And then on defense, I mean, Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes, Trey White, Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, how much more do you want to go down this list and look at it and just say Micah Hyde? And then you have one of the better cover linebackers in the league in Matt Milano. I mean, this is a team that is going to beat up on guys offensively if they're going to are going to beat up on opposing offenses if they stay healthy. They're a team that consistently averages in the 30s just about every week, especially even more sometimes at home. I mean, what did they put up? I think they might have put up 40, I think, at one point. I think it was that game against the Seahawks last year where they put up 40 plus. So they're just such a fun team to watch. Even better when they're going to have 9 games at home this year, which makes that, make Bills Mafia makes it even better. I think I completely agree with Brian's point here. I have them at 13-4. I think that's the best prediction for them. They've got games this year at Tennessee, at Tampa Bay, and at Kansas City. I don't think that's going to make it very, very easy for Buffalo, despite how talented they are. I'm not really expecting them to. Maybe they pull out the game in Tennessee. I don't know if they're going to go into Kansas City or Tampa Bay and win those games. But look, they're a Super Bowl contender and very well earned that title. They just need to overtake Kansas City for the AFC. Then Mike comments here saying teams like the Bills wish desperately they were in the NFC. Rodgers 37, Brady 43, Breeze gone, Wilson in his 30s, and team is Stafford in his 30s at AFC. Yeah, AFC has tons of young QBs and teams that won't be going away. Well, look, I mean, that had to happen at some point, Mike. I mean, listen, how many years did the NFC have Stafford and not Stafford, I'm sorry, Rodgers and Breeze, and the AFC had Brady and Peyton. Yep. So, and somehow Brady and Peyton, Brady's still within the league, but Brady and Peyton in the AFC is given way now to Lamar and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So, keep on, to quote Brian Morales from his quote before, keep on circling those wagons. It doesn't make it easy. And then Brian Morales, the one thing I will say, hope Allen stays absolutely healthy, because who is QB2? Say it with me. Mitch Trubisky. I mean, that is my pick for AFC Comeback Player of the Year. There is no question about it. He was worth every bit the trade the Chicago Bears made when they traded up to go get him. Meanwhile, Josh Allen probably should be a 3rd or a 4th string quarterback. Put Mitch Trubisky right in that starter role.
That's right. And not only that, I just want to bring up this point here, what Brian Morales said about Mitch Trubisky.
How about best player, 3rd string QB, baby?
Best player in the NFL by far. Yeah. Will come in and will take Josh Allen's job and will make the Pigulas look stupid for signing this check for Josh Allen. Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen.
Who gets the big contract in Buffalo first, Mitch Trubisky or Jack Eichel? Who gets it first?
I will tell you, it will be Mitch Trubisky. That is for sure. And then and then the Sabres fans can all blame the Pigulas either way, because the money's coming out of their pockets.
I think they'll blame you. I think they'll blame you for speaking it into existence. I think they'll blame you for speaking it into existence.
That is true. It will happen. It will happen.
Well, let me tell you,
DeLuca, take it away.
The Buffalo Bills. Look, this isn't even close. It's the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East, and it's gonna be by a good amount. They're gonna win.
Probably going to the AFC Championship game.
Very likely. I have them winning at least 12 games. I'm probably in the same boat as Ian. 13-4 is likely where they're gonna land. That's an insanely good record over a 17-game span. I think they're gonna do great things. Josh Allen, after the season he had last year, he still has to, obviously, when you get a new contract, you have to prove that you're worth it. I think Josh Allen will prove that he's worth every single penny of that contract. I think the Buffalo Bills, that wide receiving core is something special. That might be one of the best receiving corps in all of the NFL. And honestly, it is. It really is one of the best receiving corps in all of the NFL, if not the best. Like that you have three. Not like normally teams will have 2 weapons. The Bills have 3 that you can heavily rely on.
And so did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I also said were still going to be
it's up
a
there.
thorn in the
Those two are
side
up
of the
there.
Bills if they were to make it to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. It would be a big game of offense. It's a beautiful thing. It's hard to find something wrong with the Buffalo Bills right now. And that's what makes it an exciting time to be a Bills fan, except for when, as Joey said, you have owners like the Pagulas and you don't know what the heck's going to happen to your team in the near future. And that could be very irritating. But the product on the field will keep them in Buffalo because things are going too well. The Pagulas will stop being cheap at some point soon. I'm just assuming. That's probably a horrible take on my part.
Yeah.
But like that. That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst take I'll ever have of all time, if we're being honest. But yeah, the Buffalo Bills, runaway division, AFC East champs, 13-4, very high seed, likely the number 2 seed, and they'll likely see the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC Championship game, and it's going to be an exciting game.
So I want to bring back Mike Szabo's comment here where he says teams like the Bills wish desperately they were in the NFC. Rodgers 37, Brady 43, Breeze gone, Wilson 30s, and the team is Stafford in his 30s. AFC has tons of young QBs and teams that won't be going away.
That's right.
Mike, let me just bring this point up here. You said it perfectly because, again, in the NFC, yes, you also have the Packers, you got the Bucks now that are at the top of the NFC. You also have the Seahawks, as Ian brought up, where they are no lock to get anywhere, and the same
offensive line the way it is
exactly in the offensive line. I was about to say the St. Louis Rams, the Los Angeles Rams. They are a team that is, in my opinion, a team that is completely unknown right now, a question mark team that yes. They still have no depth because a lot of money has been given out to Matthew Stafford. A lot of money still is on the books for Aaron Donald, obviously best defensive tackle or best defensive lineman in the NFL by far. And then
Cam Akers is done for the year.
Say that one more time.
Cam Akers is done for the year.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So now your running game is pretty much gone. And now you have to rely on what Stafford can do. Can he do it in Los Angeles with a whole bunch of weapons around him? I say yes. But again, and I want to move back to the AFC, is that with the Bills, you're good up until a certain point. And that point is you have to eventually get past the Chiefs. And then once you get past the Chiefs, then you still have the thorn on the side of the aforementioned teams that I brought up. The Bucks, the Packers, they're going to be right there. And I think right now where the Bills are, yes, they're going to be the AFC East team. There's no doubt about it. We don't even have to go through it for everybody. We all said it. They're going to win the AFC East outright, but I don't think they're going to get to the Super Bowl. And I don't know when the window is going to close. In my opinion, I say when Josh Allen's contract kicks in, that's when it's going to be, the window is going to close very fast. We got to see it with Russell Wilson, okay? Because when Russell Wilson's contract kicked in, how many Super Bowls did they win since he got that contract signed?
0?
I thought so. I believe it was 0. So again, and in today's NFL, we are now seeing so much moving around of different parts. And we got to see also where Patrick Mahomes is now getting paid as well as the highest paid quarterback in all of football. And he is the first one to sign a $500 million contract as well. We have to keep that in mind.
He also has a top 3 head coach.
That is very well. Yes, that is very true. In Philadelphia Eagles legend Andy Reid. Yes, we got that, Ian. Thank you very much. You are that is awesome for pointing that out, by the way. But in all seriousness, no, it's. You've got so much moving around to do, and if one person were to get hurt, one player were to get hurt, the entire makeshift of a roster can go from all the way up top, all the way to the bottom just with one injury because the depth and a lot of what these guys are asking for because the cap is going to continue going up and up and up. That means that their annual salaries are going to go up and up as well. And some of these teams are, this is not baseball. This is not a luxury tax. This is a hard cap. So these teams have to really spend wisely and make sure that each position is really filled in properly. I want to look back to the Buffalo Bills again and the defensive tackle, in my opinion here, who is one of the best coming out of college and was picked 9th overall by the Carolina Panthers, who, by the way, Sean McDermott was the defensive coordinator for, was Star Lutulele. I believe that's exactly how we pronounced it, but he was a disaster in Carolina. He went to the Super Bowl 50, and then right after that, it was downhill after that. And now, all we know is that he finally got his career back up and running. And a lot of these diamonds in the roughs, they're going to come in and be able to help out their team in this salary cap world. The Bills are going to take this division by far. Guys, let's save the last or the least for last, if you will, the New York Jets. I don't even know where to begin with them. I want to look at their depth chart here, and we saw Zach Wilson, their number one pick this year. Brand new quarterback, brand new head coach. They got Corey Davis, they got Tevin Coleman, they got Morgan Moses. They've also got Keelan Cole. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they also got LaMarcus Joyner as well.
All right. Yeah.
Listen, all I know is that, I need to see Brian Morales's comment here. Here we go. The New York Jets, all gas, no brakes, and most of all, no gas. I like that. That's pretty good. Rob DeLuca, I don't even know where to begin with the Jets because it's a legitimate disaster. And it all started day one when Zach Wilson, there was a holdout, a rookie. What was going on here?
That just Joey, that just tells you that what a disaster the New York Jets are and have been for a while now. As Brian Morales just comments here, Zach attack, baby. That's a Saved by the Bell reference. You don't know it? Google it. Nice reference, though, Brian. I appreciate that one. Look.
Do we need to start singing Friends Forever for Brian Morales?
Look, the fact that there was a holdout from your rookie quarterback, Joey, that can also tie back into the whole Tua thing. Rookies clearly do have more power than you think. These rookie quarterbacks can come in here and have more pull than people want to admit that they will have. No one wants to see it, but it's happening these days because they're supposed to be the future, so they're getting treated like that without actually having to do anything on the field. And that's the issue with professional sports these days. But nonetheless, the New York Jets, they ended up figuring it out. As Brian Morales says, stop. It was 2 days. Yeah, a holdout's a holdout, Brian.
2 days too many, in my opinion, for a rookie.
Nonetheless, it's the Jets again. It's more LOL Jets. Yes, they finally fired Adam Gase, but this is a team that's comfortably finishing in the basement once again. Hello, Adam Gase's face once again. Beautiful meme. Right. We all love it.
That's right.
But look, this is a team that's not gonna. They're gonna grow a little bit, but they're not gonna do anything of vital importance. This is a team that's finishing comfortably in last place, likely in the basement of the league. Not the total basement.
I would say that. I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, they're not the total basement, but they'll be down. They'll be a top 7 pick in the league, if not top 5. And it's just the way the Jets go. It's really hard to find the right words for the New York Jets and properly analyze this team because they go out and make these moves and then you don't get the production. And that's why it gets infuriating to be a Jets fan sometimes, because it comes to the point of when does it end? How will it end? Is Zach Wilson our answer? One can only hope so, because they traded away Sam Darnold, who every Jets fan thought that was the future. Thank God the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley. I'm taking that to the grave forever. If we drafted Sam Darnold, who knows where the New York Giants could be? They'll end my rant there as Brian Morales comes in screaming hot take.
Rob DeLuca,
6 wins for the Jets.
Rob DeLuca, you're
6
still
wins.
so wrong about Saquon.
Brian Morales says 6 wins for the New York Jets. Ian, we could go for another hour on what we already did this about Joey. We're not doing it again because we already did. We did it 20 episodes
I know
ago.
that. I'm going to stop you right there, and I want to just come up with this point since our time is beginning to run low. So I want to just come up with a couple of comments here. I just have to find. There you go. Brian Morales' comment about from before. It wasn't like he held out for a week. Now we're going back with Zach Wilson. But the reason why I brought that comment up is because of what Mike Szabo said. So Brian Morales said it wasn't like he held out for a week, but Mike then responds, they had 3 months to sign him. Someone probably forgot and probably thought the paperwork was done. Not a good start to try and cultivate a new culture.
That would be so Jets. It's not even actually, no, it's hilarious how Jets that would be.
But the fact of the matter, though, is that you're starting a brand new culture under Robert Saleh, who is, again, he is a winner with the San Francisco 49ers, and this is how things happen. This is not a good look. Ian Schraier, I want to go out to you.
Okay, it worked out. Mike White looked amazing with Wilson missing 2 days.
What was that?
I don't know
quarterback Mike White?
I went to when I was at Marist College, I had a quarterback by the name of Mike White. Is that who that is? Did Marist College legend Mike White go to the New York Jets?
Is that a quarterback you created in Madden 16 or something like that?
Who is that guy? I mean, look, the Jets are bad. I'll throw it to Ian now. The Jets are going to be bad. I've got at best 5-12, and they're going to be sitting down there.
Pull up Joey, do me a favor. Pull up that most recent comment from Brian. I'll kind of address that first and foremost. So he says, just pulling up the depth chart for the Jets: Tevin Coleman, Michael Carter, Ty Johnson for running backs, Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, Keelan Cole, and then Denzel Mims rounding out the wide receiving corps. Says offensive line is solid, defensive line young and hungry, cornerback suspect. Okay, first things first. Let's start with cornerback suspect. Cornerbacks are far from suspect. That defensive backfield is an absolute train wreck. They are going to give up a lot of points in the air. First and foremost, the Jets had all those draft picks and did not draft a player in the secondary. Granted, I thought Richard Sherman for the longest time was the player because of his relationship with Robert Saleh. We debated that, I feel like, Rob, for like 3 weeks about why Richard Sherman is not in a Jets uniform yet.
That was at least 3 episodes. Ian, that was at least 3 episodes.
No, I'm sorry. Bless Austin, and I don't even know who's in their secondary. If we're really going to sit here, if we're really going to sit here and discuss Marcus May as the player that's
Lamar Jackson. The defensive side, Lamar Jackson.
Oh, for the love of God. Stop naming players that don't exist. Let Ian finish his point.
No, they do exist.
So, yes.
I'm looking right here.
So, yes, defensive backfield, not suspect. Disaster. Defensive line, young and hungry. It's more of a veteran defensive line. I mean, you got players who've got years under their belt. Sheldon Rankin.
You can call him hungry. I wouldn't call him young, though.
Philadelphia Eagles legend Vinny Curry is on the depth chart.
Yes.
I guess if you want to say young and hungry, the player to fit in there is Quinnen Williams, who's coming into year 2. I know they're very high, the Jets are, on the way Carl Lawson's looked in training camp. Sheldon Rankins was a real nice piece that they brought over from New Orleans. I like what I'm seeing out of the defensive line. It's definitely a lot better than what we've seen the last few years. They're going to get CJ Mosley back. You hope he could finally be healthy. Jared Davis is a player that did not pan out in Detroit. So you hope maybe he pans out with the Jets. Offensive line, he had mentioned, was solid. The left side of the offensive line is solid. Look, you got to like what you like out of Mekhi Becton, and also from their incoming draft pick from the first round, Elijah Vera-Tucker. Look, I mean, you got a veteran on the right side in George Fent, and you got a couple of guys returning at center like Connor McGovern. Again, solid, probably not solid. Maybe left side is definitely stronger than the right. There's still areas there they need to build. Obviously, this is a team that we're projecting 4 wins, 5 wins for. However, Morgan Moses as well. Thank you, Brian. I'll pull that comment up for our viewers. Morgan Moses also at right tackle that they're hoping to get in there. I think was also Fantis hurt. Yes. But also Moses was also a late signing. with
trying to get his career revived as well.
With the Jets, I think 4 or 5 wins is probably where they'll land. However, I do think they could get to 6. I think everything needs to. No, Brian, I'm not disagreeing.
Brian loves it. Brian loves 6 wins.
I think 4 and 3. I think Jet fans should be thrilled with. And I know this sounds terrible to say, but it's the truth based on the way the performances of the Jets of recent years past.
Yeah.
5 and 2, I would be thrilled as a Jet fan with 5 wins.
I'm saying 5 and 12. They're going to grow a little bit.
What you need to see out of Zach Wilson is growth. Okay, that's what you need to see out of Zach Wilson in year 1. It's you need to see growth out of Zach.
Hold on, Brian just made a live bet with us.
I'll go out on a limb. 6 wins, under round on me. I think 6 wins is. I think 6 wins is gravy for the Jets. I think.
All right, you got a deal, Brian.
I think for the Jets, you have to see growth out of Zach Wilson. You can't expect magic in year 1. This isn't like, again, when Mark Sanchez came in and led them to back-to-back AFC Championship game appearances under Rex Ryan. We didn't see it with Geno Smith. We didn't see it with Sam Darnold because they didn't put the right weapons around him.
We didn't see it during the the butt fumble either.
No, well, but I think for the Jets, you have to like what you see, and you have to hope Corey Davis can finally be the top 5 draft pick that he was. I mean, look, he had a good year last year in Tennessee, and then completely imploded in the postseason. Denzel Mims looked real good as a Jet last year. Keelan Cole, nice player in Jacksonville. I think for the thing with me with the Jets is I think 5 wins is I'm going to predict them 5 and 12 last place, but I think they could contend with 6 wins and maybe tie Miami if they're going to go 6 and 11, 7 and 10. But I mean, 7 and 10 I think is an overreach. But I think
that's a successful season, Ian.
As a Jets fan, I think you got to be you need to want to see good growth. I liked what I saw out of him against the Giants in the preseason game the other night. He made a couple of real nice throws, so there was some good to look forward to there. So you want to see growth, consistent growth from Zach Wilson. You want to see continual growth from the left side of the offensive line, specifically Mekhi Becton. And you really want to see the front 7 defensively for the Jets. Those are my 3 keys for the Jets this year. Zach Wilson obviously being 1. The left side of that offensive line remaining stable is 2, to keep Wilson on his feet. And then the front 7 for the Jets, getting C.J. Mosley back, definitely stabilizing up front in the front 4. That's number 3 for me because they've liked what they've seen on defense, and I like some of the pieces that they addressed. But 5 wins, I think, is the prediction for me. 5 and 12. I think any Jet fan should be thrilled with that. With Zach Wilson as a first-year quarterback, 6 wins is attainable. And I think if they get there, you're really loving life as a Jet fan in year 1 of Zach Wilson.
Now, this is something else that I want to get to. We speak about the 4 to 5 wins, even 6 or 7 as whatever. Brian Morales, I am going to ask you on air. There's week 13. I need to see the battle of the basement between AFC versus NFC East, Eagles, Jets. Brian,
good Lord.
Will you be my date to go to that game, please? I need to make sure that the Jets get their first ever win against the Eagles on that game. Your comments
the Jets have beaten the Eagles before. The Jets have beaten the Eagles before.
Never. They have never in the regular season. Look it up.
Wow.
Was it maybe it was a preseason game I'm thinking of, but I went to a game where the Jets had an insane comeback. I went to a game as a young lad when the Jets had an insane comeback victory.
That's correct. But all I could tell you is that Brian did not say yes or no. All he said was tie. So damn you, Brian. I guess we're not going. And then he says, if I don't have soccer or something. Well, I mean, it is December 5th, so it would be basketball if anything. But hey, listen, I could tell you, do not spend your money on that game.
No, Wagner in the
I thought Joey was about to say, don't spend money on me.
Wagner in the College Cup, Joey. Wagner in the College Cup. Let's go.
See, there we go. And as Brian Morales says, Rob, we haven't beat the Eagles ever. Well, that is the truth.
Get to work on that.
Listen, I think this year might just be the year.
That would be amazing.
Zach Wilson balls out against the Eagles.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts running for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's right, or more like 3 interceptions.
Ian, you're assuming Jalen Hurts is actually going to be respected by the Eagles.
All I know is that I want to look at that I want to look at that secondary, and I want to say Bryce Hall and Bless Austin, 2 interceptions each on week 13, if they're still on the team anyway.
That defensive backfield is a train wreck.
Yes, it is.
Really bad. Really bad.
Guys, since we have run out of time, our NFL 100 will be moved to next week or possibly never, but we'll get some we'll get some insight. We'll get some insight next week when we come back.
And there's always the NFL preview show.
Exactly, that is true. And we can also tell you here, breaking news as well, we will be welcoming back our good friend from USA Today Buffalo, Brad Gelber. He will be back on our show, which, again, is to be determined. But we do have our first guest, which will be Brad Gelber. So we are excited to welcome him back whenever our show is. But we will be having an NFL preview show sometime early on in September or late August, rather. So please keep up with all of our social media channels for any update that does include the NFL preview show. Guys, sports updates. Dion Lewis, solid career, has retired, has called it a career, hangs up the cleats. Looking over into the National Hockey League, we've got some a really sad turn of events, obviously, but with Dale Hawerchuk, he died last year due to cancer. But the Winnipeg Jets will be honoring him with a statue that will be placed in front of the MTS Center in August 2022. So next year, that's going to be some good stuff there, as well as the Winnipeg Jets making their heritage uniforms into their 3rd jerseys. In my opinion, long overdue, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt about it. Long overdue there. And also, Jumbo Joe Thornton signs a 1-year deal worth $750,000 to the Florida Panthers. He claims that they are very close to a Stanley Cup. I can disagree. And you know why, Jumbo? Because your thoughts of the San Jose Sharks winning a cup, I don't believe you whatsoever. 41, 42 years old.
They're closer than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He's at least retiring to the right state, Joey.
Listen, he tried to go home. Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. He's retiring there.
Better chance than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And all I can tell you is that next year, he might just go to Tampa Bay and really call it a career. Unbelievable stuff. Guys, let's get to the kudos since we are just about out of time.
Well, we're over, but who cares?
That is okay. Let's start with Rob DeLuca. Your kudos of this week goes to...
none other than the legendary woman who called it a soccer career this afternoon, Carly Lloyd. 39 years old, one of the best soccer resumes of all time. She is one of the best soccer players in the world, and yes, that applies to both genders. She's up there. I'm not calling her the best of the best. You know, you got Ronaldo and Messi, guys like that, but she's up there. She's better than a lot of those other guys. So she's a legend of this game. U.S. women's national team. She's going to play a couple more friendlies. She's going to finish her season with the New Jersey Gotham FC in the National Women's Soccer League, and then that'll be it. One of the greatest soccer players and just all around people. Great. She's a great woman, great person, and God bless her. What a career. She will be missed in the game of soccer.
Ian Schraier.
My kudos, and thank you guys so much for hanging with me and waiting for being on vacation the past couple of weeks. But my kudos go to all of the collegiate student athletes that play in the fall, that have waited 600 or so days to play a game again, and have survived not one cancellation, pretty much, but 2. To not play last spring and have their fall canceled before that, and to come back for most schools whose for most Division II and Division III institutions whose fall preseason started today. Myself included, as you can see, a picture of me surrounded by all of the schools that make up the Northeast Conference in Division I. And thank you very much, Joey, for that wonderful drop.
That was not me. That was DeLuca.
Oh, even better, Rob. Even better. Thank you, Joey, for giving him access to do that.
I am second guessing myself.
I warned you.
But again, not to take away from the attention of the kudos, but my kudos go out to you, the fall student athletes, for being so patient and, for really surviving this pandemic and getting yourself back on the field for the fall 2021 season. I'm so excited, especially at Adelphi with the Panthers and our men's and women's soccer and field hockey, cross country, and women's tennis. And women's volleyball, but for all the student athletes out there at all the schools that surround the country, congratulations on how you're going to have a fall season this year, and really kudos to all of you.
Majority rules, by the way, Joey. If the viewers love it, we're overruled, so we got to keep it.
So
I'm officially going on to the brand and deleting that off of here right now.
I will tell you this: I give you full permission to do that.
Thank you.
I vote against it. It's tied.
All I can say is that my kudos goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the security team, to the bat girl or to the ball girl all the way out in right field, who basically took down. And I will say this: the way she looked like a strong safety all the way out in center field there. She looked like Brian Dawkins going out there and tackling the guy who came out there and ran out onto the field at Dodger Stadium. Unbelievable stuff. Amazing stuff that girl did. All good things. My goodness. So kudos to her. Kudos to Los Angeles Dodgers. And because that honestly was one of the best things that we have seen in a very long time. Well, I guess that is going to do it here. And it's really wild that 2 hours has just gone like this, guys. But good stuff here. A great show here on episode number 65. Ladies and gentlemen, let us wrap up here with, as always, please be sure to subscribe to us, the Primetime Rundown, on the following platforms: Google Play Store, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube by searching the I-95 Sports Network. Also, please, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, next Saturday is going to be the Essential Wrestling Podcast's SummerSlam special presented by ProWrestlingPick'em.com, Saturday, August 21st, starting at 3 p.m. right here on the Eastern Observer. Also, tomorrow, be sure to start your morning off with Daily Wrestling News Show, presented to you by Minutes to Bell Time and the ProWrestlingPick'em.com as well. Ryan Joy comes on every Monday through Thursday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here on the Eastern Observer. Also, let's not forget as well, the Pro Wrestling Pick'em and the Essential Wrestling Podcast, episode number 67, will be coming to you live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. right here on the Eastern Observer. Join our guys Al Carl, John Smith, Ryan Joy, John DeConi, and Gary Mehefe as they take you through the world of wrestling right here on the Eastern Observer, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Ladies and gentlemen, one final time for our guys, Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, and our virtual guests in Mike Szabo and Brian Morales. All good things from them and all of our guests here tonight. I'm Joey Jarzynka. For all of us here at the Blackjack Media Group, we'll see you next time.